Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kruto Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshina Namaha Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkrupa Tamaham Vande Paramanandamadhavam Paramanandamadhavam. We will chant the invocation verse. Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Druk Tadrishyam Druktumanasam Drishyadhi Vrittaya Sakshi Drge Vanatu Drishyate. Also the shloka number 5, which is what we have to see a little more this week. Last time we started seeing it, but still there is a little more elaboration can be done. No deti nastametyesha na vruddhim yati na kshayam swayam vibhatyathaanyani bhasayet sadhanam vina. When we talk about Druk, Drshya, Vivek, we are separating who is the seer and who is seen, or what is seen. And there are different ways that the seer and seen has been described by the author of this book. But when you look at the relation of each, we start with the objects. And objects are called, I'm going to refer it from the terminology of Druk and Drshya. So that way our association becomes with Druk and Drshya. I don't have to then analyze it for you. Moment somebody says Druk, I know it is a seer. Then I don't have to keep case. Do I have to interpret it in my mind that is it a seer or is it a seen? Druk, seer, and Drshya, seen. So object is what is called as nirapekshika Drshya. It will always remain as seen. It can never become a seer. So nirapekshika means without any apeksha, without any consideration, it will always be like that. It will never become a seer. You will never see a iPhone talking on its own. It is on its own dead. When you talk to it, it will talk to you. When you curse it, it will curse to you also. So it is always nirapekshika drishya. But then when you look at eyes are both seer and seen. They are seer in respect to objects, but they are seen in respect to the mind. So what we call the seeing of the eyes as sapekshika, with expectation to something, because of something. So it is a seer, but it is in consideration with something. It is a seer. So sapekshika drak. Same way you look at a mind. Mind also is a seer and a seen. Mind is a seer of the senses, but it is seen by the sakshi. So therefore, mind is also sapekshika drak. But ultimately, when you look at the sakshi, the consciousness, this consciousness is always a seer, never a seen. So it is a nirapekshika drak, without any consideration for anything, without taking any support from anything. Sakshi is always the seer. Okay? So the only two things that we need to keep in mind, or the two thoughts, is one is the senses and one is the mind, that both of them are seer in relation to something. But Sakshi is seer regardless. It does not ever become seer in relation to something or in consideration with something. And that point is what is brought about in shloka number 5. The first shloka was a summary statement. What is it that the author wants to talk about? Then in shloka number 2, 3, and 4, elaboration was done on what is meant by eyes as the seer of the objects. Shloka number 3, elaboration of mind as the seer of the senses. And shloka number 4, sakshi as the seer of the mind. But now in shloka number 5, the elaboration is of sakshi, the ultimate seer, and never becoming seen. So na udeti, na astameti. This is the nature of this sakshi. That udaya means to rise and astam means to set. So now if you look at the idea of sapekshika or nirapekshika, when we say the senses and the mind, they see, their apeksha, their relation with something they are seeing. So therefore, there is a udaya of that. Wherever mind is, senses will be able to perceive. Wherever mind is not, senses will not perceive. Similarly, when the mind itself is there, when it is in the state of knowing, then something will be perceived. But when it is not, it will not. So for senses and mind, there is an udaya and there is an asta. A rise and set is there. But by stating that there is no rise, no set for this sakshi, it is saying that this sakshi is different from the mind and the senses. So it does not have the modification that mind and senses goes through. Then it says Na vruddhim yati na kshayam. It does not grow and it does not decay also. Now, before we talk about this idea, when we say na udeti, na astameti, there is another thought there that when you say something arises, in order for it to arise, it presumes that it was not there before. Only time that the sun will rise is when the sun was below the horizon. Then only the rising has a meaning. In its reality, it is not rising. That is for fact. But from the earth, when we say it is rising, that means it was below the horizon before. Now it has come above the horizon. And when it sets, it has gone again below the horizon, meaning it was above the horizon. So the point is that there is a presumption with Udaya and Asta that there is absence before and there is absence afterwards. With mind and senses, that comes to be seen. We can come to see that there can be an absence. For some reason, if somebody loses their vision, somebody loses their senses, there is a set for that. They are done. Now, if they have an operation done, then they may be able to see it. But if they don't, then they're set. So, with that, they still know that I am doesn't get lost. They still know that I still am here. I have not gone anywhere. So that doesn't set. And that's what is pointed out here by that Sakshi, that Udaya and Asta presumes the absence before and after. With Sakshi, there is no absence before because it was there before also and it will continue even after also. So with that, there is no setting or arising. Now, when it says vriddhi, growth and decay, again, it makes sense because that which has been born only will have a growth, only will have a curve that uprises. And whatever goes up has to come down. This is the law of this creation. Nothing stays at top forever. Can seem as being staying at the top, but everything in this world, the business tycoons of the past have come down to give spot to another business tycoons. Stock markets that have gone up have come down and then they go back up again. Happiness goes up and down. Our joy goes up and down. Happiness is the same. So our joy goes up and down. In this way, everything that we see has rise and fall. But the awareness, the knowing of I am, that has no setting. So the growth and the decay is only possible for that which has been born. Therefore, it makes sense that it will decay to its death. Otherwise, what to decay? Where will it decay to? So therefore, that which is eternal has no way of ever becoming, ever growing or decaying. So by that, the changeless nature of the self has been presented. Na vruddhim yati na kshayam. This Sakshi is changeless. And when it shines, swayam vibhati. The nature of the self is that it shines on its own without any help from anything. When you look at this word, even Sakshi, the word says Sakshat Ikshate. Ikshate means to see. It's a little way of saying to see, but see doesn't mean like you're actually seeing. Seeing means knowing. Knowledge is there. But when you add this word Sakshat, you are saying that you yourself are seeing. You're not requiring something else to motivate you to see. With mind and senses, it requires something else to motivate for it to see. So therefore, when it says Sakshi, it means Swayam Vibhati. Without any support, it shines. And therefore, it is self-effulgent and it was lasting. And when it shines, Yatha Anyani, and also everything else, it makes it shine. So when it makes everything else shine, sadhanam vina, it doesn't require something else to make it shine. This is the understanding of what is Sakshi. So with this thought, the author finishes the idea of what is Drik and what is Drshya. But then a question arises in the mind. Where did this ability to know come from? How did we get this idea of I am? Or where did this coming about of knowledge happen? So now that thought is brought about, and it is shown how the consciousness spreads around through the mind intellect and makes everything that it comes in contact with like itself. Consciousness, we say, is with spirit, with knowledge, with the ability to be dynamic. So whatever comes in contact with it also is seen as dynamic, also is seen as moving, sentient. So that understanding is now provided next with shloka number 6. So let us look at the shloka. चिच्छाया वेशतो बुद्धौ भानं धीस्तु द्विधा स्थिताम् एकाहंकृतिरन्या स्यात् अन्तःकरणरूपिणीम् चिच्छाया वेशतो बुद्धौ भानं धीस्तु द्विधा स्थिताम् एकाहंकृतिरन्या स्यात् अन्तःकरणरूपिणीम्. First, the literal meaning. Buddha, in the intellect, chit chaya aveshata. When the chaya, reflection of chit, consciousness. So reflection of consciousness, aveshata, enters in the buddhi. Then what happens is called as bhanam. Knowledge happens. We are coming to know. And this knowledge is, then says, dvidhasthita. So dhihi, the intellect or our thought, to dvidhasthita is of two natures. Eka ahankritihi. One is of the nature of ahankar, ego, and anya syad antahkarana rupini. And the second one is of the nature of antahkarana. Karana means to do something. So it is an instrument. Karana is an instrument. Antah means internal instrument. It is that internal instrument that we require to do something. So this way, the idea of a thought is divided into two. One is the ahankar and another is antahkarana. How did it happen? Is when the chit chaya entered the buddhi, and that buddhi got divided into two. So now let us see what this really means. What do we mean by the idea of entering? When we say avesha or pravesha, our understanding is what? Pravesha means that I was not in this room before, right? Or you may also have not been in your room, the room that you are in right now. And then you entered the room, correct? Then that's how we understand what is avesha or entering. So are we saying that the consciousness entered the intellect in this way? That it wasn't there before, but then it entered. Like if you think about it that way, then it fails the logic. That if it wasn't there, then what was there? And if you say something was there other than consciousness, that means consciousness was limited by something. That is question number one. Question number two is, if it was already there, then what is the need for entering? If I'm already there in the room, why do I need to come and enter again? There's no entering. So what is meant by entering here? So the entering here is not meant in the term of literal entering. The entering here is meant as there is a special connection that has happened between the intellect and the consciousness, which has given birth to something new. And that is what is meant by as an entering. You cannot explain it, but meaning that where this came about, that becomes difficult to explain. But there is an entering, and this entering is what is called as a special entering. You may have seen, a lot of, I don't know if you have seen it, but there is like play that happens on theaters, live play, like people actually playing out the role, not in movie theaters. So, somebody is playing a role of Ravan, right? And everybody knows that he's Ravan. From background, everybody knows he's Ravan. And all of a sudden, that scene comes of him changing into his role of Ravan. Before he was that Brahman, who came to grab Mother Sita. And everybody is excited now. Look, 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 Ravan is coming. They already know that Ravan was that Brahman. It's not that he was not there. They all knew he is that Brahman. But the new avesha that he took, and all that was there was, boom, there was some spark and some, smoke came about. And all of a sudden, the Brahman clothes that he was wearing have been removed. And there we say is avesha. Now happened the entering of Ravan. So did he really enter? No, he didn't really enter. He was there before. So what was that? This is how it is explained as a special type of entry. The combination of the consciousness, when is present, gives the ability for reflection. The mind being present gives the ability for the consciousness to be reflected, is what we say as the entering of the consciousness in the buddhi. Mind, when we look at it, is a matter from the literal way of understanding. Mind is a matter, but it's a very different kind of matter. It's not the matter that a stone is made of, or you know, a gross thing that is made of. It's not like that. It has the ability to reflect, and it has the ability, like the mirror, to absorb whatever it gets and then reflects it out. So similarly is this mind, that when it comes in contact with consciousness, it reflects the consciousness. And therefore what we get is reflection of consciousness. And this reflection of consciousness, we say, has fallen into the buddhi. So consciousness didn't have to come from somewhere. It didn't have to take the Pushpaka Viman, and in order to follow and then come into the special being. No, it was there all the time. So what we say therefore is that Buddha, in the intellect, this chitchaya, reflection of consciousness, aveshata, when it enters, when it comes about, it creates two conditions. It creates two distinctions, not conditions, two distinctions in the intellect. And intellect here is meant as our thought. Dhihi or buddhi is meant here as our thoughts. So our thoughts get divided into two things. One is the ego thought, another is the karana thought. So another way to say is ahankara or karta thought. That is what ahankara does. Eka ahankriti syat. You take any thought, whatever thought it may be, a thought of wearing, nice clothes. In that thought, there will be one thought which will be saying, I have worn this nice clothes. Where did you put the clothes on? It was never on the eye. We put the clothes on the body. We never put it on the eye. But because the body is connected to this eye, the eye says, or this ego says, it is put on me. You eat something, nice, delicious food. I didn't even touch it. This eye, the thought never even touches it. It goes and gets processed through the body. In from one end, out the other. Yet, I had nice food. Mouth tasted it. Mouth felt whatever spices it had to feel. But the ahankar says, I felt it. I am happy about it. So any thought you take will always have this. Even at current point, if we are all listening, the thought will be, I'm a listener. For me, the thought is, I'm a speaker. That I will always be there. So when it says eka ahankriti syat, it is distinguishing, or it is pointing out that the distinction of this thought has two things. One, it has the ego, which is the I thought. And whenever there is this I thought, the thought is associated with something that you are identifying with. Because I identified with the body, so I say the clothes are mine. Because I identify with the house, I will say house is mine. When I go to somebody else's house, I will not treat it as mine. Even when they say, treat it as your own house, still in my mind is there, not my house. I have to behave. I cannot put my feet up on the table and just kick back and relax. I have to maintain a disciplined posture. So, ego has already been associated. Many times we go to mission, and I don't know how people do that, but maybe their mind is not working at the time, or they're in such a rush. When we are in mission, there are so many shoes laying around. And this is the unique thing. We know exactly when we have worn our shoes or not. It has become an identity now. So the moment you wear somebody else's shoes, it kind of kicks into your head. You're not wearing the right shoes. You're wearing something different. Something is odd, something is off. But because the rush is there, or maybe people are forgetting, they wear somebody else's shoes and go away. Then you have people searching, oh, where is my shoes? Where is my shoes? So this happens. But here again, that thought is, I associated with an object, but because there is an identification, so that identification makes this thought possible. So when we say ahankara thought, or I thought, or karta thought, that is simply identifying, or that is simply saying that this thought has identified with something to give rise to this. Okay. And the second nature of the thought is karana thought. It is the instrument thought. This thought is what makes things possible for us. It is what is getting us what we require. You have a desire. The desire is getting you whatever you want. Desire for water. So you will run out to the kitchen and get some water for you to drink. That desire is your karana, is the instrument which is propelling you to go and get the water for yourself. Body acting it out is merely just the pressing play. On your mind, you're pressing a play button, and then the body is just carrying out that thought through the body's action. And you have a role being played. And then once the desire has been fulfilled, again you have put a pause, again waiting till the next desire to come about. So a desire comes in mind. That is a karana thought. A greed comes in mind. Again, that is a karana thought. A compassion comes in mind. Karana thought. So this way, whatever thoughts that are there which gets us something to do, some action to perform, they become karana thought. And it has to be antahkarana. It's not external. Eyes are also seeing, ears are also hearing. But when they are seeing and hearing, it is external. But when we have the desire, when we have the greed, all of these thoughts, they are internal. That's why it is the internal instrument. Antahkarana. And Gurudev has given us a very nice explanation of what is antahkarana in Kindle Life or self-unfoldment. So we have that detailed listing of what is meant as antahkarana. Manaha, ahankara, mind, intellect, mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. These are the four given. So mana, mind, buddhi, intellect, chitta, the memory, and ahankara, the I thought. So these four antahkarana, they get split where I thought is the ahankara thought, and the other three is the karana thought. So now, when this has happened, how does this make sense? Okay, fine. That there is the consciousness, and this consciousness enters into this intellect, which then gives us ability to think, gives us ability to know. How does that propel or motivate the body to move? It has only come in the intellect. It didn't come in the body. So how is it making the body to move? What is making that connection possible? Because you have a desire, correct? The moment you have a desire, action happens automatically, right? You think about it. I don't know if you have tried it. When you write something, you try to write something, thought comes to your mind, but you don't have to tell your hands, now come on, start moving. When are you going to move? I have a thought, come on, move. No, the moment you have a thought, this starts moving. You don't even have to tell. What is propelling the body to move without the entering? How is that connection made? What makes this possible? So that explanation is provided with the next shloka. So let us take a look at that shloka. Chayahangkarayoraikyam taptaya pindavanmatam tadahankaratadaatmyat dehaschetanatamagaat. Chayahangkarayoraikyam taptaya pindavanmatam tadahankaratadaatmyat dehaschetanatamagaat. Chaya, the reflection of consciousness, that which was given a special entry. So this and ahankara, one is consciousness and another is inert. When they have come about, aikyam, the oneness that has happened, that oneness, tad ahankara tadatmyat. When the combination has happened, when they were two entities and the two entities have become one, when that happens, dehaha chetanatam agat. Agat becomes what? Chetanatam, live with spirit, live enlivened with the ability to move, ability to do things. What? The body. So body, therefore, in its union, in its connection, gets the ability to function, to move, to do everything possible. What does that mean? So an example is given. Tapta ayaha pindavat. Pinda means a ball. Aya means iron ball. Tapta means heated iron ball. So a ball, iron, if you look at, has a different property altogether. Iron is cold in nature. Iron is metal, so it is dark. It doesn't have the property to glow. But yet, when it gets heated, you put it in fire, all of a sudden it is glowing red. And fire doesn't have the ability to take a shape. I mean, fire can take any shape it wants, but in natural state, fire doesn't have a shape. At least it doesn't have a shape of a ball. It may have a form, but it doesn't have a form of a ball. So that fire takes the form of a ball, like a round shape. And it is burning. And it transfers this to the iron ball. So their union, their combination has created something that is not seen. Similarly, the combination of the consciousness and the combination of the intellect, both when they come together, they create the ability for the body to go about and function. Very simple things if you look at. A little speck of dust falls on your eyelids. First thought happens, my eyes are burning. Or something went in my eyes. There's no feeling of restfulness. You're a little bit restless now. Just touching the eyelid, or why even touching the dust? You just go closer and touch your eyelids, not eyelids, the eyelash. Just touch your hair and it feels like something is touching me. I am feeling sensation here. So that I that is feeling the sensation, that is your I thought. And the karana thought is, I am touching my eyelash, or some dust is touching my eyelash. See, but what has happened? That has transferred to the level of body. So the connection with the intellect, the oneness that has happened of the consciousness or the reflection of consciousness with the intellect has given off this ability, this charge, you can say, to the body also. And it has made everything in our body alive. Wherever you touch, you will feel the sensation. Tip of your toe, whatever is the tip of your toe, you touch that tip of your toe, the nail I'm talking about, that will still feel like something has touched me. This much of awareness has become to our body. It doesn't, and the interesting thing here is, it doesn't travel to the clothes that we wear. Somebody may be walking and without their awareness, a clothes, it gets ripped. Without their awareness, it gets ripped. They will not know. When they take it off or when they remove the clothes, then they will know, oh, it got ripped. But without their awareness, if they get scratched, they will come to know, I got scratched. See the sense of awareness. Even though you're wearing your clothes, you have not transferred your sentiency, or not sentiency, you have not transferred the I-ness to that clothes. Yet we say my clothes, or I am looking nice today. But still, see how that transference of I-ness has reached. And in a way, it is a good thing only that, we are aware of it. Because if you're walking and you step on a nail and you don't feel anything, then how bad would it be? I may not even have a leg right now, if that were the case, because I would never know what a sensation of a pain is. So It is a defense mechanism, you can say, that has been built in, that anything that our intellect goes and touches, the whole body has become sentient, alive because of that. Food we eat, food, whatever food we consume, that food turns and becomes our body. Before, when it is on the plate, it is something different. It is whatever dosa, whatever, rasam, payasam, whatever it is, it seems so delicious. But once it goes into you, it has become you only. It has become you. It has become, part of me now. I don't feel something separate from it. And it transforms into you. So this is how the connection is. The chair you may be sitting on, you don't feel that that chair is you, even though you're sitting on it. You're separate from the chair. So the point is that when consciousness and the buddhi have combined in such a way, they have given off the charge to anything that the buddhi identifies with. So in order for the buddhi to work, in order for the jiva to function in this world, it requires body. So because it requires body, it gives off this charge to the body and says, this is my body. It identifies with the body, and therefore it makes the body alive. It makes the body enlivened to function. Function for who? The ego, the I, the ahankara thought. Because it has identified with this body. Okay. So we can pause here, and if there are any questions or thoughts, we'll go through those.
Could you elaborate on the difference between karana thought and I thought? I'm not quite clear.
Yes. So when we talk about the karana and the karta thought, karana is the one that is an instrument for functioning. But when the instrument is functioning, there is apparently the notion of I am functioning through this. So we can take an example of a desire. Today is a very hot day. So we can say, today I have a desire to just stay at home and do nothing, especially today is Friday. So I don't need to go out. I'll just stay in the house, maybe under a fan or an AC. That is my desire, and watch a TV. The thought that I have to do this, all of that, this is the karana, is the instrument, which will make me do all of that. But in all of that I do, the thought will be, I am to do this. I am to sit under a fan, to kick back, relax, to watch a TV. I am the one doing it. So that idea is separate from the idea that there is a watching happening of a TV. There is a relaxing happening of the body. That is a different entity itself. And that's the two distinction pointed out by the karta and karana.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hari Om, Dhirenji.
Hari Om.
One question, Dhirenji. So, how does this reflection of consciousness enter the intellect? why are we calling it the reflection of consciousness, and how does that enter the intellect?
Huh. So when we are saying that this reflection of consciousness that is entering, first consciousness is at the level of non-transaction, right? So when we talk about consciousness, it cannot come into any sort of action. But the fact that intellect is able to function, the fact that mind is able to think, all of that is because of something. So therefore, we say that this consciousness is getting reflected in the mind in order for the mind intellect to function. So the entering is not really an entering. It is the special connection that has happened, which is allowing the ability for the functioning to happen. So another way, if you take a look at the rope and snake example, the snake entered the rope when you started seeing a snake, right? Snake entered the rope the moment you started seeing the snake. But did it really enter anywhere? In reality, it did not enter. Similarly, in reality, the consciousness didn't enter anywhere. Consciousness was consciousness. But because you are now seeing, or you're now experiencing the functionality of the mind intellect, in order to explain that, we have to say that there is a reflection happening of the consciousness, which is making the transaction possible. So therefore, it is the entering of that.
I think so another metaphor can be like it's like electricity enlivening the bulb. The electricity you're describing as something intangible or something that's not really.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
Electricity that enters and makes the instrument, whatever it is, to come alive.
Yeah.
That is a good example. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, in one of Puji Gurudev's video on electricity, he very hilariously has explained how electricity, a bulb is just a bulb or a motor is just a motor, but it lives only because electricity goes through it. And he gives one example of when he was in the Himalayas. There was one more person who came. I don't know if everybody has seen that video. It was a very, very funny video in which he says, there was a person who went and was talking to Puji Gurudev, and at that time it started getting dark. So Puji Gurudev got up and turned on the light. And the moment he did that, the light came on. And so that person, he had never seen light in his life. So he started saying, "You're a magician, you're doing something here. So I don't know what it is, And then after some time it started getting hot. So he turned on the fan and said, "No, definitely you should be a magician. You do something over there and something starts rotating here. You do something, again, light comes there." So then he asks, "What is this?" Then Puji Gurudev says, "No, this is something called as electricity." So, "What do you mean electricity? Can I see it?" He said, "You cannot see it. You can only experience it." So he says, "I want to experience it." He said, "Okay, if you want to experience it, take out that light bulb," he says. Then he takes it out, and then Gurudev says, "Insert your finger there and I will turn on this light and then you will see what it is." So then he starts running, he turns on the switch, and so this man starts to run around the room. Then he says, "See, that is exactly what I was trying. You cannot see it, but you can only experience it." So he has this very hilarious way of explaining it. So it's exactly what you were telling. I was just thinking about that now. Yeah, thank you.
So, Ariom Dhirenji, this is Venkata speaking. So in that example, so the karta would be the bow?
No, in that example, bulb is just an instrument of reflection, right? A bulb, the actual bulb is merely a body. So it is not even a karta or a karana. Karta is actually, you can say, the karana would be that filament, the instrument through which the light is being reflected. Karta, you can say, is probably the plugging in.
Yeah, that may not. Yeah, okay. I see. That may not be the relevant example for that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree.
Correct.
Yeah.
You can only elaborate on the example so much, or expand the example so much.
So karta is the ego, right? The PFT, I.
If you look at it, the BMI chart, then the karta will be the BMI, I. Yes. So karta would be that I.
Okay.
There, when Gurudev talks about BMI, he has generalized it. He has not made it into two specific things. He's just talking about intellect, that is the function of the mind. So I would say it was
thinking more of PFT, the ego.
Even that ego that is spoken of, the PFT, that PFT also is in the realm of Karana. The author in this text is going a little bit beyond our normal way of thinking. That's why it requires us to think a little more as to what do we mean by Karta and Karana thought. See, there are no two thoughts. There are no two thoughts. When you are having a thought, that thought itself can be broken off into two parts. So one part is the I part, the identifier part. Correct? Anything that we do, there will be an identification. So identifier thought is the ahankara thought. That is the job of ahankara.
Yeah.
What that thought really goes and does, that is the job of the karana.
Got it.
Yes. So it is 8 o'clock. We will conclude our class for today. And next week we'll begin where we left off. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Dhiren ji.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Have a nice weekend.
Hari Om. Thank you, Dhiren ji. You too.